This is a mini 7-in-1 multifunction external optical drive. I was sent this guy to review for free. If you wanted to purchase it, it's going to cost you about $30. They haven't paid me for my review, and so my opinions remain my own. Alright, so in the box you get the drive itself, which has a little protective paper over it, a user's manual, and a power cord that is a USB-A to micro USB cable. So this has a laptop style DVD CD reader writer. It has an integrated cable which has both a little USB-C port and a USB-A port that folds out the side. On the back here it has this power port, so that's for adding external power if your port you're plugging it into isn't giving them enough power. It also has a MicroSD or trans flash card reader and an SD card reader and a USB hub, and I believe 3 of these are USB 2.0 and one of them is USB 3.0. Okay, so we're going to try plugging the USB-C port into a Linux laptop. And it definitely has identified lots of devices here. We have a slim type DVD-A. Alright, so when it has power, there's also various flashing lights that are flashing on this guy. We're going to try the SD card port. And it did detect a new disk, and so it is able to read files from the SD card. The manual says you can't use the SD card and the micro SD card slot at the same time, presumably because they use the same circuitry. But we're going to plug it in just to try it out and see. Telling the truth there. So let's unplug the SD card. It disappears here. We're going to plug in the micro SD card. And that did get detected appropriately. And we have access to the files there. So independently, the SD or the micro SD card slot works. Now is a USB hub. It is identifying and working correctly. Okay, so it identified the USB flash drive, worked correctly with that. It works with either a micro SD card or an SD card, but not both at the same time. Alright, so now we're going to try a DVD disc. Obviously a spinning disc is going to take more power than just a flash drive. So this is a laptop style drive, and you're going to have to snap that disc down on top of the little spindle. Okay, I hear it spinning. It's removing the read head. And it has appeared on my system. It's recognized the drive. I can access the files that are on the drive. Alright, so to test this guy, I am reading the entire DVD off of it. And it's running at about 130 frames per second, so it's reading about 4x faster than a typical DVD playback speed. Alright, we're 94% done copying a DVD. It's averaging about 138 frames per second, so definitely 4x speed, maybe just a little bit higher than 4x speed. That might be limited by the laptop more than the drive, but it does definitely do at least 4x read speed off of DVDs. Reading from DVDs work just fine. So now I am putting in a DVD plus R writable DVD, and we're going to try writing to this guy. Alright, so I've dragged a about 400, 500 megabyte file here. We're going to hit write to disk, and it's going to be writing here, and we will burn it. Alright, we are writing the data to the disk. Alright, it successfully burned the data to the disk. It says that the average drive speed was 2.9x, so we're going to say it's a 3x DVD writer and 4x DVD reader. Alright, so everything's worked properly on the USB-C port. I'm going to try my USB 3.0 A port here. So it took a few seconds, but the drive is now loaded. I can access the files on the drive, and they are working properly. It is also working properly as a USB hub. And the SD card reader is working properly. Okay, I've tested this guy. It works great as a USB hub. It reads the SD cards or microSD cards, although you can only do one of the two at a time. It worked just fine powered with either my USB-C port or a USB-A 3.0 port just off my laptop. I did not need to use the external added power cable that plugs in here, but if it's not working for you, you might have to put in a second USB-A port to put extra power into this guy. It read a DVD at 4x speed, it wrote to a DVD-R at 3x speed, so it's not a speed demon, but it's also a small portable device. And it has kind of your typical laptop style CD drive. So if you need an optical disc reader-writer that also allows you to have expanded USB ports and reading microSD and SD cards, this guy is a pretty solid offering. It's a relatively low price point and everything works. So I appreciate the cable management here, so you can pack this as just a solid device. If you do that, make sure you've tested it to make sure you don't actually need the external power cable.